Hey guys, today we're doing 13 Ghosts, or as I like to call it, Mr. Monk and the Glass House of Ghosts.
Mr. Monk and his annoying family.
No. Mr. Monk and Shaggy solve a case.
Mr. Monk and the guy from Scream.
Mr. Monk and the evil naked lady ghost.
Mr. Monk is a deadbeat dad. Ooh.
It's a jungle out there.
God, that's terrible.
That's
All right.
awesome. Hi, I'm Mike Butler.
And I'm Mike Field.
And we're cut off from the world at an isolated hotel. That's right, it's time for Forgotten Horror 6.
Fear the darkness.
Each episode, we discuss a film that, for a variety of reasons, was forgotten by audiences. Maybe their parasitic twin brother was talking too loud in the theater, or they were too busy tracking down a ghost in a mansion. Or perhaps the movie didn't catch on with audiences in its initial run because they were trapped in a cabin in the woods. We'll discuss what we love about the movie, or maybe don't love about it, but we'll always recommend you revisit it, unless you've been turned into a zombie by a passing comet. If you survived being attacked by werewolves in the Scottish Highlands, we want to hear from you. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Like and subscribe. Our podcast is available on all platforms for your listening displeasure.
What's happening?
Nothing much, my family, mostly my wife died in the fire, left
Sorry
me
to
with
hear
my
that.
2 kids.
Yep.
Yeah, it was pretty horrifying. I lost my house. I couldn't get it back. Apparently I didn't have insurance or something. I don't know. I live in
You lost your house. Where did it go?
I live in like a crappy apartment now with my nanny and 2 kids. And all of a sudden I got an offer from my rich dead uncle who I hadn't spoken to in forever, who gave me a glass house full of ghosts. So I figured it was a sweet deal.
That's right. The state-of-the-art remake of the classic William Castle horror film about a family that inherits a spectacularly old house from an eccentric uncle. We're doing 13 Ghosts. I'm not going to give you the full synopsis, but I figured I'd do that. All right, let's get into it. It's our second episode of Forgotten Horror Season 6, Fear the Darkness. I meant to tell you that I think that when you do it, I think that you should have a guitar riff in the opening when you're like, Fear the Darkness.
Well, I'll definitely
There you
add
go.
some stuff in there. Yeah.
So 13 Ghosts is a runtime of 91 minutes. Rated R, production budget of $42 million. It came out on October 26, 2001. That is a Friday release. Opening weekend, it did $15 million. Domestic 41.8. International 26.6 for a worldwide total of $68.4 million. Production company was Warner Brother Pictures and Columbia Pictures and Dark Castle Entertainment, and it was distributed by Warner Brothers Pictures in North America and Columbia TriStar Film Distribution International internationally. Which is funny because Columbia is the first one that appears. Isn't Columbia the first?
So Columbia is
logo?
the first one.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I said it came out on Friday, October 26th. Let's go back a week to October 19th, and you had a wide release of Riding in Cars with Boys from Hell, an episode we did, Butler, on the main show, and The Last Castle. The 26th of October, you had K-Pax, On the Line, and Bones, the Snoop Dogg horror film that competed.
I
with this
forgot about Bones.
Don't put it on the list. And the limited release of Donnie Darko, Life as a House, and Ginger Snaps. I think we've talked about this before because we talked about it when we did From Hell. I think we discussed just 4 Ginger Snaps now or something like that. Yeah. The week after this film came out, November 2nd, you had a wide release of Monsters Incorporated, a favorite of my son's, Domestic Disturbance. He has never seen that one. And The One. And then you had a limited release of The Man Who Wasn't There, Tape, Amelie, and Happenstance. So there's some really good films in there. I don't think you like Donnie Darko, right?
I don't like Donnie Darko. I do like The One, though. I like The One. It's kind of a cheesy action movie, but it works. But I really like the concept of The One a lot.
Okay.
I don't know what you ever thought of The One. I haven't seen it in quite some
Remind me
time.
what The One is again.
Jet Li plays a cop in one parallel universe, but in another one, he's killing all the versions of himself
I've never
because you
seen this
become
movie.
more powerful as you go. Oh, you've never seen
Is
it?
this the one with? Is this the one he did with DMX?
Jason Statham's in it.
Okay.
But like Jason Statham's not a name yet, and he's got like a full head of hair.
Didn't Jet Li do a movie with DMX?
Yes.
Okay. But anyways,
I can't remember.
So
the name
I've
of it,
never
yeah.
seen the one. So I'll try to check it out.
I'm gonna put the one on the list.
Just put it on the list because I haven't seen it.
I've been wanting to put it on the
Okay,
list.
fine. Then put it on the list.
All right.
Which you won't put on the list till you edit this episode 14 weeks from now.
That's fine.
This film, 13 Ghosts, is directed by Steve Beck, who has done Ghost Ship, and that's it. He also does a lot of commercials. A world famous commercial director. I don't know if he went back to that or he just don't like works, or I don't know. You know anything?
I don't
No,
know.
man,
I've seen Ghost Ship, but I don't remember much about it other than like
Isn't
one
Ghost Ship
shot
the
in my head.
scene? What's the movie with the opening scene where everyone dies and by the metal rope that breaks and it slices everyone in half? I think that's Ghost Ship because
Is
then
that
they all
Ghost Ship?
go. Then they all I think that's Ghost Ship.
Well, in Ghost Ship, they're like a military squad going to the ship. They want to take
and
their
the ship is haunted because they show the opening how it's
because that's how everybody dies.
There's like a big party on the boat and one of these cable wires snaps and slices through like all the people on the top deck.
Okay.
And they're all like sitting there like kind of like in this movie when the guy gets sliced in half. And they all fall over. I'm pretty sure that's Ghost Ship.
The only thing I remember is the scene where they break into the ballroom and like the main lady goes forward and the military guys break off. And that's the only shot that's in my brain.
I that's actually the only thing I think Ghost Ship is known for is what I'm talking about. And that's it. I think it's a good movie.
I don't think it is either.
Anyways, this film has a story credit by Rob White, who's done, and the only reason he has a story credit is because he wrote the original 13 Ghosts at the William Castle film. He also wrote House of Haunted Hill, the 1959 version, so he obviously has a credit there for the remake of that one. This is 2 screenplay credits, Neil Marshall Stevens and Richard Diovidio. Stevens has done the TV show Monsters, and Diovidio has done The Call, Hypnotic, more recently Hypnotic, and Exit Wounds. Cinematographer was Gail Tattersall, who's done Virtuosity, an episode we did way back in the day, Tank Girl, and the TV show House. Composer was John Frizzell, who we did for those who are our patrons, or for our Patreon. We talked about John Frizzell, Alien Resurrection, because in our lead-up series. He's also done Office Space and the TV show The Following. Edited by Derek Brechin and Edward Warshilka. Brechin has done Deep Blue Sea and Stargate, and Warshilka has done The Running Man and Big Trouble in Little China. Produced by Gilbert Adler, Joel Silver, and Robert Zemeckis. Adler has done Superman Returns and the 1999 remake House of the Haunted Hill, like we just talked about before, or I talked about. Joel Silver has done The Matrix and Die Hard, amongst a lot of other movies. And Zemeckis, I'm sure you know his work director-wise. He's also produced Gothica and House of Wax. Seems like Robert Zemeckis has a healthy appreciation for horror because he produces a lot of these horror films. Yeah. So this film stars, as you might have guessed it, Tony Shalhoub, Mr. Monk, Arthur Criticos. He's from the TV show Monk, the TV show The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, which I highly recommend if you're a Tony Shalhoub fan, and the TV show Wings, another one I love. Beth Davids as Kalina Orezia, who's in Army of Darkness, Bicentennial Man, and Matilda. Matthew Lillard as Dennis Rafkin from Scream, Scooby-Doo, and SLC Punk. Shannon Elizabeth as Kathy Criticos. She is Arthur Criticos' daughter. She's in American Pie and Scary Movie, amongst other things. Alec Roberts as Bobby Criticos, the young son from Traffic, and that's it. He left acting. He is living his life. J.R. Bourne as Benjamin Moss from the TV show Mayans MC and the TV show Teen Wolf, the new one. He's the lawyer. Benjamin Moss is Cyrus's lawyer. Rod Digga as Maggie Bess from Stars and Rufus 2024 show Rufus or movie. She's more of she's a DJ, hip hop artist.
Yeah,
DJ. Her
DJ
song
thing,
is at the end of the credits. That's
yep. Do you know what her name was before she changed it to Rod Digga, like her stage name?
Tell me.
Harriet Thugman.
Oh boy.
When I was looking up that note, I was laughing. I thought it was funny.
F. Murray Abraham plays Cyrus Criticos, who is the mysterious, eccentric uncle of Arthur. He won an Oscar for Amadeus. He's also in Star Trek Insurrection. I got to say that contractually obligated to mention the Star Trek reference for Butler. And Matthew Harrison as Damon, who is like in it for like really quick in the beginning. You don't even need to know who he is, but in terms of the character, Matthew Harrison has been in Romeo Must Die. All right. I have never seen this film. I always confuse this movie with 13th Floor all the time.
Right.
And I don't think they came out at the same time. I just think because of the number 13. So
they were both early 2000s, but yeah.
So as this movie started, I'm like, I don't remember any of this. So I don't think I've ever seen this film.
Yeah.
Okay. I always ask you your thoughts. I know you like this film, or you know you've seen this film and you remember that's why you suggested it. So
right.
Tell me what young Butler, when he watched this movie, liked, and now tell me how older Butler feels.
Younger Butler liked the ghosts, liked the setting, liked
The house, the glass
the
house.
glass house. Liked the setting, liked the story, thought it was kind of cool. Older Butler still likes all those things, but appreciates the story more now for its cheese than not. And I like how straight Tony Shalhoub is playing it, even though it's a super stupid story. But there's still a lot I appreciate in this movie, and I still really enjoy this movie. It's definitely like a movie that you like, one of those guilty pleasure horror movies that you watch where you know it's kind of cheesy, kind of like what we talk about with Malignant, like the parts where it's kind of like overly cheesy and you're still like into it. Like, I really like that, but I really appreciate the set work. I really enjoy the glass house set. I really enjoy that the ghosts aren't some spectral CGI thing. They're actually there. They've got prosthetic makeup on. They look really good. Most of them. I mean, the little boy is kind of lame, but
With the arrow?
just the arrow through his head. But everybody else looks really, really cool. And I still really appreciate that. They're like more human versions of like Ghostbusters ghosts, where like you can tell they've been malformed by however they died, and it's kind of turned them into some weird thing that they're not. Except for Maggie for some reason. She's just got a burn on the side of her head.
Oh, the mother?
Yeah.
Because
She's good.
Yeah.
I still really like this movie, but I mean, I know you're going to go into it. You're going to have issues because I think you have never seen it before. So unlike, I think maybe some other like 90s horror things, you're not going to find I don't know. I just don't think you're going to, judging by your opinion right before we started recording, I don't think you're going to be too up on this movie, but I still appreciate the way it was filmed and kind of that stuff. But I understand that the movie doesn't explain a lot of stuff and just kind of ends. And, you know, the story is not very good. Although I do think it could still be endlessly adapted, because I think the base story is really good, capturing 13 ghosts in a house for nefarious purposes. And then the ghosts end up like breaking out. That's a cool basic concept, and you can still run with that. I just said all my spiel. What
Well, when you
so what do
say
you
it
think?
reminds you of 90s films, what 90s horror movies are you talking about?
Just like in terms of the style, it's just kind of like the flashy cuts, the sarcastic dialogue, you know, the way people are reacting to certain situations, or having that funny quip at the end, or funny quips at the end of different lines that are just like, you're only going to get that if it was, you know, a cheesy like early 2000s horror movie kind of a thing.
So you're talking like you're talking like Scream. You're talking like I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Kind of Scream.
Like
I Know What You Did. Yeah, like there's always like that little bit of sarcasm behind everything.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what I appreciated. But mostly
Sure.
this watch, I really appreciated the ghosts and the sets.
Sure.
I think those are really cool.
I can't argue about that. I mean, the ghosts do look good. The makeup looks good, with the exception of the CGI clock thing at the end, whatever that
Oh,
camera.
the big engine thing, which I still don't really understand what it does. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I know. It goes back in time or something like that. I don't know.
Right.
But then it opens hell. So whatever. The house, the glass house. Yeah, I understand that the set is nice. My problem with the set, well, I'll get to that.
Yeah, your initial thoughts.
My biggest issue with this movie is I cannot stand the dialogue. I don't think the dialogue is as good as you may think it is. I don't like it.
I think it's bad,
but
in like a cheesy kind of
see,
way.
I don't think it's bad in a cheesy way. I think it's bad because there's stuff where I'm like, oh, like when there's moments too where like, remember when they are when Beth Davids has the what's her name again?
Maggie? Oh no.
Kalina. When Kalina gives her big expo dump towards the end of the movie about the 13 ghosts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It felt like they purposely didn't give Rodriguez lines in that because they cut to her and she's just like, oh, and she's about to speak and they cut away and I'm almost like,
she just stands there. Yeah.
like what's going on? Like, did she have lines? Did you not like them? Like, were they not deliver? And even when Tony Shalhoub is delivering lines, and I love Tony Shalhoub, like I don't think there were some lines that he was saying, I'm like, that I don't like that dialogue at all. Like, I God bless you for doing it. But like, there's some lines where I'm just, oof, I really don't like it. So I couldn't get into the cheese factor. Like Matthew Lillard in Scream, like the way he is in Scream is probably the only way I like him in the 90s. Like Scooby-Doo aside.
I was going to say, not Shaggy?
No, that's
he's a great Shaggy.
Scooby-Doo is, yes, I don't count that. But everything else that I have seen him in, he annoys me. And even in this part, there's a part where he's yelling and I'm like, holy crap, I think he sounds like Stu from Scream. And I'm waiting to be like, I'm hurt real bad, Billy. I'm waiting to hear that. As he got older though, I've actually seen him in other stuff as he's older. And I've actually I like him. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he's just not doing that kind of style.
I think he's more like an adult now. He's not that screechy kind of kid.
But that's my preference. So I'm not a huge Matthew Lillard guy back then, with the exception of Scream. And I'm not counting the Scooby-Doo because he's doing Shaggy and you know, that's Shaggy. So yeah, he was perfectly cast there. Man, I don't know. There are like the dialogue really bugged me, and I was really confused as to how big the house was and where everyone was in the house. And I felt like they kept showing the same when they were in the basement. I'm like, how big is this basement? Like, I never really got a full sense of the geography of the whole house.
I think that that's kind of on purpose because the fact that it's glass and weird angles makes it so you can't tell. I think that's got an endlessly huge basement, clearly, where you keep turning corners and you can't hear each other or see each other. Like the house isn't that big. And I don't think they play the house for very big, except for that engine room.
You
which
can't really tell because everything looks the same with
yeah.
the glass.
The house is just like 2 floors. It doesn't seem that big. But the basement seems like it's endless, which is kind of silly. But I agree with that. Yeah, 100%.
Tell me what you thought of the Kalina twist at the end. Like all that stuff.
Oh, I saw it coming like a mile away.
Okay. Oh, you really? Because I didn't.
Well, I've seen the movie before,
sure,
but
obviously.
Yeah, as soon as she's in the house and it's like, how'd you get in here? Oh, I'll explain it later.
Yeah.
But you can't get out. I was like, that's a little suspicious. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was pretty sure she had ulterior motives. But then when she like teams up with him, I'm not like, oh, gasp. I'm just like, all right.
To what end is what is she teaming up with him for? To open the gates of hell?
Well, that's the thing. They don't like, granted, I'm saying I like this movie. I like this movie as like its base parts, but like it doesn't do a good job at really, because she just spits out that exposition so fast. It's like you don't really get a time to process wait, I don't understand what this machine is for. I don't get it. So she's spitting that out. So I don't get it. I assume he's going to get some grand power and hopefully he'll share it with her, obviously, which clearly he's a supervillain. So no supervillain ever shares their power. Like, how do you not see that coming? So I wasn't shocked that she was teamed up with him, but you could tell like a little bit like, I got in, but you'll never get out kind of a thing. It's just like, what's up with that?
Yeah. So, and even with that expo dump, when she's talking about all the 13 ghosts and the different ghosts, and I'm thinking to myself, is this based on anything? Is this like a legit thing?
No,
they just made this up
the
for the
Zodiacs
movie?
are so stupid.
The Dark Zodiac,
specific.
is that what it is?
The Dark Zodiac.
They made a big deal about the Juggernaut in the first scene,
and he doesn't do well. No, he does kill.
But he's not. It made it seem like he was like the strongest of all the ghosts that he had there. And if he got out,
it's too late. Yeah,
right. And then they all escape at the end of the movie. So I'm like, so then what happens? So that's it. We're good. They're not gonna want to kill these people. They're done.
Well, I think they're clearly still violent because, well, they were violent when they had to attract. Who was the first ghost? That was the giant. The first ghost they get.
What are you talking about in the beginning of the movie?
Or is it the nail guy?
You're talking about who they first face?
Who they first face off?
No, they face
the glass house.
the person in the cage.
The jackal is the dumpster is the jackal.
I don't know these people. Like when she was going through the ghost, I'm like, I'm lost. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, at the beginning when they're still in the junkyard.
Oh, that's the Juggernaut.
That was the Juggernaut.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. So they made it seem like he was the most powerful.
He was going to be the big bad. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I guess he comes out and he crushes his spine and puts him against.
Yeah, I was
thing.
like, ooh, yeah. I forgot how he died. I was like, suplex, give him this, and then he goes. Goosh. I was just like, oh wow.
I didn't get the whole idea of the flares distract.
They were made of the silver or whatever. That obviously
did they say this in the movie?
Yeah,
okay.
That's like every horror movie thing is like nothing like silver iodine.
But they said that in the movie.
They do say that in the movie. Yeah,
I didn't get that.
There's silver flares or silver iodine flares,
and they just throw it at him and they disappear.
What I hate is like. The last flare they have, Tony Shalhoub chucks in the basement with nothing around him.
Right.
It's just like, use your glasses. If it's clear, don't use your last flare. You're going through this creepy basement again with all 13 ghosts out. Save your last flare.
Yeah.
I thought that was dumb.
I mean, I do understand like the flashing stuff. Like when you see the ghost, you don't see the ghost. And then there was in the opening of the film, they had this like really weird when Rafkin, Matthew Lillard's character, touches the ground and he's like, oh, and he's getting the flash of everything. And I still don't know what like. Is
that when he sees his own death or is that after?
That's when, no, he sees his own death when he is in the house and he touches the ground or something like that.
Right.
That's when he sees his own death. He sees whatever the Juggernaut is doing or whatever. That felt very 90s, like you said. A lot of viewers complain that the movie is
too many flash lights and stuff.
Physically painful to sit through because of the strobe lighting and the flashy editing.
Nowadays, I mean, you and I worked at the theater. In the last few years we worked there, we always had those photosensitive warning signs that we had to switch if the movie changed theaters or whatever. So I don't think theaters are more conscious of that in terms of how they film. They film the way they want to film.
Mhm.
But nowadays, at least there's warnings on the wall. So people that are sensitive to that can know.
Sure. How old is Shannon Elizabeth supposed to be in this movie?
I don't know.
Because she's 27 when she made this film. And
Right.
I get the sense they're saying she's 16 in this film.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
She seems way too old. When it opened, I forgot that I thought she was his older daughter, and that Bobby was her kid.
Right.
And they were like, "Oh, look, it's our family's growing." Like Tony Shalhoub's grandfather.
That would have made better sense.
And and she's her and Bobby have a nanny, even though Shannon Elizabeth seemed like they're way too old. And he lost his house, which for some reason insurance didn't pay for.
That was my note. I'm like, I've lost everything. I go, you had life? Didn't you have life insurance? Don't you have homeowners insurance?
Yeah, where's the homeowners insurance?
Did you just blow through it? Are you a degenerate gambler? Like, I need more?
I thought the same thing. It's like, how do you have this crappy apartment? You had a beautiful house. It should have been worth something.
Yeah.
So I didn't like that. But yeah, he's talked about how poor he is, but he has the ability to hire basically a live-in nanny.
Yeah, I don't get the whole nanny thing. I mean,
is
it in the original? Is that why?
I haven't seen the original in a long time. It's good. It's not as good as House on Haunted Hill, but it's good.
The
1960 one.
Right.
Yeah. But the thing I didn't get, and I was watching it with Elise because she also liked the movie.
Wow, she stayed up for it.
I had to poke her a couple times toward the end, but yeah, she did.
Oh, dude, this is a family show.
Listen, she did all right. But she had the same note, was like, who is Maggie? And they don't explain it for a while. Is that Tony Shalhoub's girlfriend? Because they don't seem very interested in each other. Or
no, they do explain in the beginning because he says, "Have Maggie make you the breakfast," and she's like, "Have you heard?" No, I got it the sense in the beginning
that she was the babysitter.
She's here. Have her make her the breakfast. That's why she's here.
Because
says that to her.
because the whole thing I was like, he's too poor to afford a nanny. I don't understand it, but he's still too poor to afford a nanny. And then, but she just seems like she's shoved in there to have a black character. And that just it's clearly a very early 2000s thing, but I think they could have done something better.
And then she has that line at the end of the film where she's like, I'm gonna fly home. Enough of this.
I don't get paid for this
white people stuff. Blah, blah, blah. That's fine, but I'm like, you drove 2 hours upstate. You from New York. You're not flying home. You're driving home.
The thing I also don't get, it's like, oh, it's just a 2-hour drive. It's like, how is this commute going to be like? Yeah, you get a house, but now you can't work. You're never going to be able to work 3 hours away from your job. This is way before you can call in to do your teaching job.
I'm just a math teacher, man.
But yeah, I think I like that Maggie doesn't die, because I couldn't remember if she survived or not. And she survives. I'm like, they're shoehorning a black character in, and they're clearly going to kill her off first.
Does,
and I was like, that's another complaint I have, which I thought we'd get into.
Go ahead.
Like, but Maggie doesn't die, which I like. But then she has that line in the middle of like, I'm going to break a nail. I'm like,
yeah,
she has basically no dialogue, and you give her the most generic black person dialogue. This is why Scream makes fun of movies, or the scary movies make fun of movies like this.
I go back to my initial issue with this film, which is the dialogue and the writing. I don't think either she couldn't handle some of the dialogue and they kind of pulled back on it.
I get that she's a musician, not an actress,
or they just don't know how to write.
She seemed all right, all right enough to deliver lines that weren't just, I'm gonna break a damn. Like, come on.
Well, how about the?
But I do like that she technically saves them all by destroying the machine. So I was like that. All right, so she has a purpose.
Destroys the machine.
To give her something.
Just pulling dials everywhere. Like
she starts DJing.
When they find out about the house, Shannon Elizabeth's character, Kathy makes a comment about, we have our own bathroom. They get to the house. I can't wait to see the bathroom. Then she goes to the bathroom. What's the fascination with the bathroom?
She just adjusts her hair for 8 hours.
Oh, and she's not even adjusting her hair, brother. She's sitting there with two strands going,
yep,
looking at herself. I'm like, what are you doing?
And she sprays perfume directly on her without smelling it first. What kind of psychopath does that? Smell the perfume first to see if it smells good. Don't just cover your body in an unknown perfume. I thought that was the weirdest thing. I was like, who does that?
Yeah. We like the set. We both said, it's a cool set. If I come upon this set in real life, I'm not thinking this is awesome. I'm thinking this is creepy. Like, I'm looking at this, like if I come across this house in real life, and it's got Latin all over the walls, and it's got all these old trinkets. And if you actually look at some of the stuff, like they got the old porcelain baby that like is like cracked, and like, I'm like, this place does not look great. Like, I do not want to be in this house. Like, this is so awesome. No, it's not. It's not awesome.
I mean, they were living in like a tenement house. So, I mean, it's awesome compared to that.
Oh, damn.
Also, I mean, the samurai swords and samurai armor were kind of dope. The telescopes.
I was actually okay if Bobby, went away. I was actually glad that the kids went away from this film.
Me too, but I think you needed more people because going back to
Sure.
that Benjamin gets it and Benjamin gets it awesome. I was like, yeah,
That's a good, but that reminds me of this of the cell where they split the horse.
sure.
Yeah, it reminds me of that. And obviously we just talked about Ghost Ship, so I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
that
And then
So no.
Hannibal does it better, I guess, later,
Hannibal
10 years later with the
Hannibal
glass
always
frames.
does,
Yeah.
always does.
But it's a really cool effect. And they don't shy away of showing him sliding down. I thought that was really cool.
Mhm.
But then they puss out and like, yeah, I mean, Dennis gets killed, and bending himself backwards is neat, but you really don't kill anybody else, really. And Kalina's death is super lame. You don't even get like an eye pop. She just gets like super
gets squished
CGI
and,
cartoon squished.
Mhm.
And I was like, that's not a real good squish. It's like you get these ghosts that are really violent and awful, but you don't have the stones to make the deaths, the two deaths that you have,
Right.
anything worth anything.
Right. Well, speaking of the deaths, we never go, correct me if I'm wrong, but we never go back and no one ever finds a lawyer, right?
Oh, they do.
When? Because when was that?
Dennis and Maggie walk by the lawyer when they're in the basement, and
okay.
she's like, "Oh, they found the lawyer, and he's dead with all his money on his lap." And I'm like, I don't care if there's ghosts in that house. The money's not haunted. This isn't a Pirates of the Caribbean situation.
Well, that's the only reason
be-
why Dennis was there. Rafkin was there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Why isn't one of them getting that package of money? I'd be all about that money right then and there. I'd be that greedy
Well,
guy.
they can still go back in now because all the ghosts left.
Yeah, just shatter with
So
glass.
just go
and
back
steel
in
or
there and go
whatever,
get it. Yeah. I mean, they got a lot of explaining to do. I mean, do you think the police are going to believe that 12 ghosts killed them all?
Those bodies.
Yeah, they're in trouble.
Oh yeah. I mean, it is out in the middle of nowhere. You could just run away.
13 Ghosts 2, the trial.
of the century.
F. Murray Abrams, his character Cyrus. He does the fake throat slash so that people think he's a ghost.
Yeah, which is
The only person that sees him first is Kalina,
Mhm.
right? And she knows he's not a ghost. So we're like, oh wow. And then Arthur sees him, and that's it. So all this makeup was for no reason.
Yeah. Basically, just be like, oh, yeah. No, 100%. When he was like not a ghost, I was like, what? So what? Yeah, I was like, why are you faking your own death?
Yeah.
Just say, Arthur, I bought you a house with all my money. Like, he's a desperate man. Like, there's nothing else you could do.
Like, and then in the beginning of the film, you see that like Damon dies, which is Kalina's buddy, and then you see that Cyrus has died. So, but now when you think about towards the end of the film, obviously that was not real. Cyrus faked his own death. So now I'm thinking to myself, okay, so he just like fake put the blade there, and then
Well, everyone was
hoped that
distracted by
Rafkin
the
would run
ghost.
away, and okay, so the idea was like, okay, Rafkin sees him dead, which is the Matthew Lillard character, and then he leaves, and then he gets up and he takes the Juggernaut ghost back to his house, but he's still dead. How do we know? Like, he's still dead. So like, but does the lawyer know? Like, the lawyer has to know, right? The lawyer has to be in on it.
Oh, for
In order
sure.
to
And-
set up the house, but he knows where the money is. But then he goes and picks up the money and doesn't realize it's not a pedal. And then
well, I don't think the lawyer knew much about the house.
But he has to know that Cyrus is alive.
Oh yeah, because Cyrus probably said, "Go tell
Yeah.
them I'm dead, and you get this bag of money on
Right.
the ground."
Yeah.
But yeah, I have a note about that too, about him being the right hand man but not knowing something.
Oh, I haven't.
Oh,
Go ahead.
how did Benjamin not know Matthew Lillard's character, not know Dennis? How did he not?
Well, he said, like, I've heard about this guy and he's been at my law offices
what-
and blah, blah, blah.
But even before then, when he's at the door and he's pretending to be an electrician, like, you're supposed to be Cyrus's right hand man, and you don't know this guy. You're supposed to be in on this whole deal, this whole long con, and
Or maybe
you don't
he's
know
not.
who he is.
So let's say he's not. It makes it that much ridiculous that how did they set up everything at the house? If Cyrus is dead, Kalina helped him. So they secretly went to the
Yeah,
house and
Benjamin
put the
didn't do
Juggernaut
anything.
there. Yeah. It doesn't make
Well,
any
he had a whole
sense.
crew putting the Juggernaut there.
Apparently, the whole crew died when the Juggernaut was he was like, "What's the bait? A truck of blood? Oh man!" And like, well, that clearly wasn't the bait. The bait was all the people.
Well,
And
only
the one
two-
guy that ran into the box that he kills and stays in is get locked in the box.
Yeah, and then like 20 people carry the box away.
But
Only
no,
2 people die.
20 people don't carry the box away because it ends where Cyrus is dead and Rafkin's like, "Oh man, oh Cyrus."
Oh,
and
am I
that's
just
it.
thinking when they carry the box out?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
But they only show him kill 2 people. The guy who gets squished by the toppling truck.
Sure.
And then the one guy who I think that death was cool when he gets sucked backwards through the trunk of the car.
Yeah, sure.
I thought that was a cool death.
But then he was throwing people around and yeah.
That's the thing is like that level of ghost mayhem should have been throughout the movie.
Okay. To your point about Kalina's death, I had a note that it was originally much gorier.
It should have been, yeah.
Her eyes popping out, her brain squirting out.
Oh, good. Eye popping. That's what it should have been. My note is, where's the eye pop?
But they cut it down because the director feared that the death would earn them an NC-17 rating. But put it in anyways and find out, but whatever.
Yeah.
So that's
you have almost a fully naked woman.
I do have a note here. Yeah, I do have a note here that is, it's fully naked, but the slashes are conveniently over spots where you don't like, you know what I mean, over her breast, so you don't see her nipples and stuff like that.
Well, so cut in half.
Right.
Yeah.
So you clearly are not showing nudity because you're not showing
but
the
you
full.
are.
It's like putting tassels. It's like that.
Yeah.
I also have a note here that James Gunn did an uncredited rewrite on this film. Did a couple uncredited rewrites.
I could see it. I could see that. Some of that cheesy
because from Slither
kind of horror. Yeah. I gotta rewatch Slither. I remember not liking it.
I didn't. Yeah, no, I didn't like it either.
I remember being really excited for it.
Yep.
So I got a lot of hype.
Same thing. Because
I
like Night of the Creeps, and that's kind of what it was.
Yeah.
But it was not that, and I was like,
yeah. I think the only thing I remember liking is the big fat lady in the barn being like, I'm hungry.
Yeah. It had a lot of promise, and then it didn't. I just was like, at the end of the movie, I was just like, nah, I don't like this.
Yeah, it didn't go funny enough.
Maybe it just didn't kind of towed the line, but it didn't know which way it wanted to go. So yeah, I could see that. What were we talking about?
We're talking about 13 Ghosts.
I just wanted to get through some other facts because there's just no great segue to get to these facts. So I'm just going to get some of the behind the scenes in terms of how the ghosts were done. So the effect for the torso, which is just the body,
and the head's on the ground separate. It's
they used a double amputee for that.
Oh, that's cool.
Special black hood that could be used, that could be digitally remove his head. So it's a double amputee, obviously leg amputee that's actually doing that. And then when we did the movie Event Horizon,
they actually used amputees
in that orgy scene. So which was really good. So I always like that because it's a cool thing to do, I guess. I don't know. I just like that.
Yeah.
How they did the effect for the ghosts is actually an in-camera effect. How they would teleport in and out of frame, like when they'd see it.
Oh, it's not CG?
No.
That's
so
cool.
What Tattersall would do, which is the cinematographer, he would turn the ARRI camera on or off quickly. He'd be like, boom, boom, really quick. And while the film would ramp up or slow down. So he would do it really fast. And then it would do that. And that's how you got that effect.
Oh, that's cool.
So,
I like that.
So it was an in-camera effect. I mean, for all you burgeoning filmmakers out there, there's something to do. Although I don't think you do it on video.
I can't ramp down or ramp up.
Yeah, I guess not.
You could blink it to really teleport somebody.
So shoot on film. And
shoot on film, go to one of like 3 places where you can still develop it.
Exactly.
There was like only, even when I was in film school in like the mid 2000s, we had to shoot on film for film class because you had to. That's what they made you do. And you had to go to a special place in Manhattan. It was the only place that you could develop the film. So then they're like, well, you're going to have to go to Manhattan. And they would, the class isn't paying for your train ticket. So you have to pay for your train ticket, go into the city, go catch the subway, go to the place to develop the film, pay for it yourself, bring it back, and then wait a few days, pay for the train ticket again to bring it back to go to class to edit the film.
Yeah.
To splice the film up. I was like, ugh.
You shot 16?
Yeah.
When I went to NYFA, shot on NYFA. In 98, we shot on 16 millimeter. We actually shot on the cast iron 16 millimeter cameras that were used in World War II during like getting World War II footage when they in the battle. Cool. So they're like all these like old heavy cameras, but we had to get that way to get the shoot the film and get it. What's the word I'm looking for? Developed. Just that's you had to pay
you were
it.
at least literally inside the city.
Yeah, we were, but we had to pay for it.
But it was still like just one place too.
I don't know if it was. I can't remember if it was in NYFA, but it was like near NYFA. It was that because New York Film Academy was down by Union Square.
Sure.
So everything was around there. So you just go, run around and do that stuff. But
I just remember being like, you really want me to go into the city 2 times while I have class to develop this film?
We were supposed to shoot you were supposed to shoot like your final. Like you get like a month or a couple weeks, whatever, to shoot your final in the city. But like both Adrian and I, my buddy, took the train home and just shot it at home. We shot it here around in Connecticut. It was just much easier. Yeah. So we just did that. It was a lot. I was like, hell yeah.
I took my camera back to Connecticut. 2 out of the 5 films I shot in film class, I think 2 of them were shot back home just because I was like, I ain't doing this. I'm going home for the weekend. One of them was shot in a park and the other 2 were shot in and around the city.
Nice. So my biggest note for 13 Ghosts is that I felt like I was watching a Universal Horror Night exhibit. That's what I felt like I was watching.
It's funny because actually what at least I don't have the note here, but Elise and I were talking about like this would have made a great Halloween Horror Nights house. But that's basically all it is.
Well, this would...
it's a showcase. That's what it feels like.
I will say this, like when we talked about this in Striking Distance, I think this would make a good series. Limited, maybe 13, 14 episodes. In each episode, you deal with a ghost. I think this
the
would
backstory of each one. Yeah.
I think this would make a good series. Like maybe they're fighting off a ghost or whatever. They're trapping it, whatever they're doing, whatever you want to do.
And then whatever ghost you're trapping, you flash
could
back.
have like a flashback to like, what that ghost, what happened to them and
I like that because I was very curious about each of the ghosts because Matthew literally even says, Dennis says they weren't necessarily evil when they were killed. They just died in violent ways and become violent.
The one ghost I don't care about is the oversized baby and the mother.
Oh, the tiny mom.
I think that's stupid. So I was like, no.
I think that's why they were barely shown.
Good, because they were dumb. It was almost like, did you watch Popeye? And you were like, let me just copy the boxer.
They look like weird Tim Burton monsters, but they were cool. I mean, they were well done.
But like, you're supposed to believe that they died that way, the way they were. So she had an adult male as a baby.
I think maybe it's a situation where like, she wouldn't let him go outside and she mothered him and probably killed him.
I did not like that ghost. It was stupid.
He was kind of dumb. I like the ghost with the nails.
So you're talking about the hammer?
Yeah, because I love the way he was able to pull out. Obviously not each one was able to, but I liked that they made it so that a few of them could be pulled out. I was like, that looks really cool.
So the actor, Herbert Duncanson, that played the hammer was not originally hired as the actor for the film. He was going to be a stand-in for reference and test shots. When the original actor cast never showed up, they just gave the role to Duncanson as a last minute replacement. So that's pretty cool. But like, how do you not show up? Like,
oh man, I gotta be a ghost.
I'm not being in this crappy film.
I'm better than this major motion picture.
Let me get you some reviews here.
Some reviews, go for it.
Ebert, your favorite, praised the production value, saying, quote, "The production is first rate. The physical look of the picture is splendid. However," he criticized the story, lack of interesting characters, loud soundtrack, and poor editing. And in 2005, he included it on his list of, quote, most hated films, end quote.
Well, really? Most hated films?
He hates it. Most hated.
I mean, it's all subjective, but there are films that are way worse than this.
Most hated.
It's 2 years away from, we just did our Alien Requiem episode for our lead up for Patreons. And, that's 2007. So he was 2 years away from a way worse horror movie. I do think House of Wax had come out by then. And House of Wax is worse than this.
With Paris Hilton?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's not her fault.
I have seen that film. I have blocked that film from my memory.
But, other than being one of his most hated films, I agree with his critique of the film, other than maybe the loud soundtrack.
Like the song at the end is the only one that's loud. Like, is he like the song? There's no other songs.
I hate that rap crap. He's just an old white man.
I don't know.
But
maybe.
Yeah, his other critiques I agree with. I enjoy the film, but I agree with all that.
Ed Gonzalez of Slant Magazine panned the film's lack of scares and predictable plot twists. He commended the art direction while also stating it was underutilized.
Agreed.
Yeah. So
the lack of scares, there need to be more kills. You need to have more, either you have more family members that you kill off, or there's just more people. Maybe the house is still being constructed, so there's actual construction workers in there getting murdered or something.
There was a moment in the movie where, Arthur, Tony Shalhoub character is like, I need to find my son. When he's like, he's
over
like
and
getting
over and
anxious.
over and over and over and over.
It says it over and over. But there's a part of the film beforehand where he's like, Dad, we got to get out of here. He's like, and I'm pretty sure he goes, as soon as I find the kid. And I'm like, the kid? Like, he's your son. Like, you're not saying the kid. Like, so I was just like, that's not great. And I think, again, that probably goes back to my original point of the dialogue, but I was just like, I did not like that. I guess, Butler, who you recommend in this film then too? Because I'm curious,
well, not you. I'm just kidding.
I'm allowed to not like films.
I think I would recommend this to people like you and I who have an appreciation for late 90s, early 2000s.
Well, I'm glad I saw it.
Horror films.
Sure.
I think you can get a lot out of it's a quick watch. It's fun to watch. It's fun to mock and even make fun. Like, as me and Elise were watching, even though I enjoy the film, we were both kind of questioning things and laughing at different things that weren't so great story-wise. But you could also still appreciate the glass set. Nowadays, that would be all CGI. You'd have 2 glass panels and the rest would be all made of CGI on a green screen or the stupid giant. I can never remember the name of the script. Stagecraft. I really appreciate the look of the sets, and I love the ghosts. I think you don't get ghosts enough that are practical. Even in the newest Ghostbusters movie, it was like half puppets and the rest were all CG. And it's kind of disappointing when you go CG because I think practical ghosts and monsters always have this more uncanny valley kind of thing going for them. The fact that they can't move quite as smooth kind of works, or the fact that when they're human ghosts, you can really make them kind of like more creepy. I mean, when the lady's sitting in the pool or the bathtub and she's watching Shannon Elizabeth's character kind of like a cat, like curious, but also kind of just pissed that you exist. I was like, you can't get that with CG. It would just look, it wouldn't look as real. You can't get that expression.
I don't think that's a scary scene though, because she can't see her.
I don't think it's a scary scene, but I think it looks cool. It's not tense or scary, but it's visually cool and I guess arresting in terms of just that the color's there, that the look is there. I appreciate it, but it's not scary.
Well, let me ask you this about that scene. There's blood all over the wall in that scene.
That the ghost, ghost sees. I don't know. Because they never do that again. I imagine that the ghost, it's her bathroom stuff, probably.
So he's transported the bathroom of where she was murdered or whatever.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure all those objects in the house
and the
belonged to the other ghosts.
I mean, like we can assume that all we want, but like
we don't. We don't know exactly. Yeah.
Movie has to tell us.
But yeah, so I would recommend it to people who would appreciate all that or appreciate early 2000s, or late 90s kind of horror movies.
Sure. Okay. I don't know if I'm recommending this to people.
Yeah,
people like horror films. Horror films. People love horror movies.
Oh, you definitely have to like. That's what I said. Yeah, horror
movies.
Film.
Yeah.
If you don't like horror movies, I'm not going to recommend this.
No, if you like the original and you wanted to see the remake and just see how much they screwed up the original, I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know if people who like movies from the 60s would really appreciate these kind of movies.
I mean, you have to understand how movies were made back then, but yes, I understand that. Why was it forgotten then?
It's not scary. I think that they don't have a body count. I think that hurts. I think that it's glossy and fun, but it's not a scary horror movie. And those horror movies that are just kind of glossy and fun, other than maybe Scream. Like you said, the story and the writing isn't very good. Scream isn't very scary either, but Scream has great writing and an appreciation for horror films.
Scream also is one of those movies that changed the genre.
Sure.
So,
but I'm saying if you're not going to have a scary movie, it needs to be on par with the writing level of the Scream series. And it's just not, I appreciate the sets and the effects. I like that. I appreciate, like you said, it would make a great series. I appreciate the base story, like at its bare bones. But yeah, I don't think that's enough to carry it into, the next decade or two. I think that disappears. Tony Shalhoub's not exactly the largest star in the world.
Well, he does Monk right after this. Right?
I thought it was a very interesting choice to cast like an older actor. Like a dad character is the main character. I thought that was cool instead of just a bunch of teenagers.
Well, I imagine also that maybe Tony Shalhoub was a fan of the original. Maybe why he does it.
But it's still cool to write in a character that's not a sex-starved teenager as your main character or the final girl. You don't have a final girl, which is just overutilized now, I think, in movies and has been for decades.
That's a genre.
I know
trope,
it's a genre trope
that people love.
But you gotta play with tropes. That's the whole thing.
Okay,
a lot of movies.
But that's also not this movie. This movie's a ghost story.
Sure.
So a ghost story to me is like a bunch of strangers locked in a room, a house, that kind of thing. So
it doesn't need to have
people
the slasher
turning on
rules.
each other. Yeah. I think maybe you're right. I think maybe the family dynamic, even though that's from the original, maybe the family dynamic doesn't work here as well as you think it would be.
I mean, because they take away the family members halfway through.
Yeah.
And then you don't get the family
Thankfully,
members.
because the kid was bothering the heck out of me.
The kid didn't really bother me, but he didn't do anything. And he didn't have a lot of lines.
Yeah.
Probably because he was a little kid. He didn't have.
He had more lines.
The chops.
Did he have more lines than Rodiga?
No, I think Maggie had more lines.
I think it's also forgotten because people think it's the 13th floor like I did.
I know I've seen it, but I don't remember anything about the 13th floor other than there was a door that led to like a Matrix type place.
Yeah, no, it goes. It's a time travel.
Is it time travel?
It goes in the past, and he's messing. You have to.
I have to rewatch it. I haven't watched it.
I think you would like the 13th floor. It's sci-fi.
Yeah.
It's not horror. So and you would like it. So I recommend it.
There's one more thing I wanted to bring up that I have a note in the movie.
Please.
So Maggie's dead. His wife, Tony Shalhoub's wife.
Yeah, you keep saying Maggie. Maggie.
Oh, not Maggie.
Rodiga.
Right.
Is the maid.
Who's the name of his wife?
Molly? No, I don't know.
Okay. Jean.
What a terrible.
Tony Shalhoub's wife.
Gene.
So she died violently. That's the whole point of getting all these ghosts, right? She burned. All the ghosts are supposed to be violent because they died violently. That's the whole point. Why is she nice? Why is she good? Because it's her family.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't abide by the one rule or two rules we have about these ghosts. One, spells written or said, the ghosts have to obey them.
Yeah.
And two, if they die violently, they become violent.
Yeah.
So Maggie should be, or not Maggie, Tony Shalhoub's wife should just be violent.
Arthur should have killed her, but yet still loved her.
Yeah, he should have had to dispatch her and be like, I'm sorry, I love you. And then at the end,
murdered her.
Yeah, he frees her and then he's good. Oh, it turned out he murdered her.
It would make more sense if he murdered her, but still loved her. And like, that's why he became that's why he's not a nice, good father. And
that's why he's got to sacrifice himself.
That would be a better idea. Yes. All right, brother, where can I find us?
You can find us at ForgottenCinemaPodcast.com or wherever you listen to or watch this show. Wherever you're listening or watching, please like, rate, subscribe, comment. All those things help our podcast greatly. If you want to support us even more, we have a merch shop, which you can find on our main site where you can buy merchandise. Unfortunately, it's the middle of July. I forgot to print out and make the merchandise now. But by the time this comes out in October, we'll have shirts, mugs, I'm sure, all this kind of different Forgotten Horror stuff. You can go pick up that.
I'll believe when I see it.
And you can also support us on Patreon. On Patreon, like we already talked about, we have an Alien lead-up series, Roadhouse, Ghostbusters. We have a ton of lead-up stuff, including Beetlejuice. In a Halloween mood, we did Beetlejuice in September, or we will have done Beetlejuice in September.
We have no idea.
For just a few dollars a month, you can help support the show and get a ton of exclusive stuff, including early access to episodes and discount on that merch.
And Forgotten Horror 6, rolls along. We're going to be doing the 2011 science fiction comedy horror film, The Cabin in the Woods. I have not seen this film since the theater, so I'm interested.
Really?
Yeah, no, I mean, I remember parts of it, but I just haven't seen it completely. I've seen parts of it. I haven't seen it from start to finish, so we'll see.
All right.
Like I forgot Chris Hemsworth was in it, so that's interesting. All right, then. So that's next week. Cabin in the Woods. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'm Mike Field.
I'm Mike Butler.
And this has been Forgotten Cinema. No, wait! Forgotten Horror.
Keep it spooky, y'all.